Genesis represents the most comprehensive collection of pre-Neue Klasse BMW cars and motorcycles ever seen in North America. Some are the only examples in the US, and all are milestones in BMW history. The story begins during World War I, when BMW supplies engines to the German Air Force. Germany's defeat puts an end to BMW's military contracts, so BMW turns to motorcycles. In 1923, BMW introduces the R32 with a boxer engine and shaft drive, followed in 1925 by BMW's first sport bike, the R37. This is the 1927 R47 owned by BMW Classic, an evolution of the R37. In October 1928, BMW becomes an automaker by buying the Eisenach Vehicle Factory, and in 1933 introduces its first all-new car, the 303. This is a 1934 309 owned by Jim and Mary True, and it's identical to the 303 but with a four-cylinder engine instead of a six. In 1931, in the midst of the Great Depression, BMW introduces the R2 single, which doesn't require a license to ride and is also exempt from road tax. This R2 belongs to the Lane Motor Museum in Nashville. In 1934, BMW creates its first sports cars, starting with the 315/1 Roadster. This car is owned by Dirk de Groen, and so is this 1937 328. The 328 was the car to have among gentlemen racers in the 1930s, and it inspired the original owner of Manny Carter's 319/1 to transform his car with 328 bodywork and a more powerful engine. Also in 1936, BMW introduced a line of upscale cars that includes Lance White's 321 Cabriolet and Caracanum's rare 335 Cabriolet with BMW's largest pre-war engine, a 3.5-liter 6. From the same line, we also have Manfred Scharmach's 327/28 Coupe and Rick Meinig's Cabriolet. The original owner of Rick's car was BMW factory racer Schorsch Meyer, who got it after winning the 1939 Isle of Man Senior TT. In 1941, BMW stopped building cars, devoting all its capacity to airplane engines, including jets and military motorcycles like this R75 owned by Jack Wells. At the end of World War II in 1945, BMW's Eisenach plant ended up in the Soviet sector, and it kept turning out pre-war BMWs through the 1950s. Very few of these EMWs are in the US, but we have Jim Smith's 340 and Rocky Grady's 327/3 here in Genesis. In 1948, BMW got permission from the Allies to build small motorcycles in Munich. The first of these is the R24. This is another bike loaned to Genesis by Jack Wells. In 1951, BMW debuted its first post-war car, the 501 Baroque Angel sedan. We have two Baroque Angels in Genesis, Lothar Scheutler's 502 Cabriolet and Alf Gebhardt's 3.2 Super. Both have the world's first all-aluminum V8, and both were beautifully restored by their owners. The 507 is considered the most beautiful BMW ever built, and this car belongs to Maus Motors. 507 was designed by Albrecht von Goertz, and so were the 503 from BMW Classic and the 503 Cabriolet owned by Caracanum. Cara's car was restored by our presenting sponsor, the Werk Shop, and it took third in class at Pebble Beach in 2014.
Seines Lebens schönster Traum, ein kleines Fahrzeug mit viel Raum.
In 1955, BMW started building the Isetta microcar, licensed from ISO of Italy. More than 10,000 of these came to the United States, and this one is owned by our sponsor, Classic BMW of Plano, Texas. In 1957, BMW built a larger Isetta called the 600, which introduced the semi-trailing arm rear suspension used until 2003. This is David Lowen's car.
Billig im Betrieb und leicht zu parken ist die Isetta mit dem Gütezeichen BMW.
BMW hadn't made a profit since World War II, and it was on the verge of bankruptcy in 1959. The success of the 700 saved the company, and many of these cars were raced. Steve Walker's 700 still is. We finish our tour of Genesis with the 3200 CS, last of the early V8s. Kevin Whalen's beautiful 1965 CS is another gorgeous workshop restoration. And that's Genesis, BMW from the beginning. If you'd like to learn more about these cars and BMW history, a 164-page full-color book with a ton of archival photographs is available at bmwccafoundationstore.com. We'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, the Werk Shop, and our additional sponsors, Yokohama Tires, Cocoa Mats, and Classic BMW of Plano, Texas, for their part in this exhibit. Thank you for watching, and we can't wait to see you in person at the BMW CCA Foundation Museum.
Hello, I'm Mike, the owner of the Werk Shop.
And I'm Don, the founder of the Werk Shop.
We'd like to take a few moments and give you a sneak peek at some of the interesting projects we have here at the shop.
We want to thank the foundation for the opportunity to sponsor not only the Icon exhibit, but the new Genesis exhibit as well. It's programs like Street Survival and these continuing exhibits that make it easy to support such a wonderful organization.